It begins with a routine update that feels anything but routine. In this dramatized story world, a palace bulletin drops with language so carefully controlled it practically screams panic. No details, no timeline, just a sudden reshuffle of engagements and one chilling line: duties will be temporarily reassigned. Then the real shock lands. William and Catherine are asked to step in immediately, not as support but as the frontline. And inside the palace, people don't whisper, "Is she okay?" They whisper, "Who decided this now?" Before we go deeper into what this really means for the royal family, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single update. The update is unusually vague, and that's what makes it dangerous. In this story world, vagueness isn't meant to comfort, it's meant to control. The palace chooses words like a surgeon chooses a blade precise enough to cut, polite enough to look gentle. Routine, precaution, temporary. Every word is a cushion placed over panic. No timeline means no endpoint. No detail means no reassurance. And the moment the bulletin lands, staff don't react like they've received information. They react like they've received instructions on what they are allowed to believe. Then the cancellation chain begins, and it's not subtle. It arrives like a row of dominoes falling in public view. Events disappear from calendars. Cars that were scheduled to leave suddenly don't. Calls are made, then immediately remade, as if the first version of the plan wasn't clean enough. In this dramatized scenario, the cancellations create a visible vacuum of power, the kind that people notice even if no one explains it. Because a monarchy can survive bad headlines. What it can't survive is empty spaces where authority is supposed to stand. And that's when William and Catherine are positioned as the immediate replacement for stability. Not assisting, not supporting. Replacing. The language isn't spoken out loud to the public, but it's communicated through urgency, through the speed at which the schedule is rewritten, through the way staff begin preparing as if this move has been practiced. In this story world, the most unsettling detail is how ready the machine seems. Staff react like this was anticipated. Plans already exist. Routes are already mapped. Protocols are already pre-written. And Catherine feels the weight of being chosen under pressure, because being chosen in a palace isn't always an honor. Sometimes it's a burden placed on you before you have the chance to refuse. The emotional beat isn't dramatic sobbing, it's quieter. Catherine feels that sharp internal shift from "I can help" to "they need me to hold the wall up." She understands what the palace wants her face to do: soften the crisis, calm the public, project continuity. But continuity comes at a cost, because the more visible she becomes, the more the world will interpret it as substitution rather than support. And in this story world, Catherine is painfully aware that perception doesn't wait for truth. It chooses a narrative and then forces everyone else to live inside it. William feels it too, but his fear is strategic. He understands the danger of stepping forward too smoothly. If he looks reluctant, the palace looks unstable. If he looks confident, he looks like he benefits. And that is the trap inside a temporary reassignment. You must move fast enough to prevent collapse, but slow enough to avoid the appearance of takeover. The palace doesn't say this out loud, but everyone acts like they know it. Every decision is calibrated. Every public moment is measured. Every smile becomes a statement. Then the cliffhanger hits from the place where truth leaks first, through the staff who hear the real conversations. In this dramatized story world, an aide says it in a voice that's half warning, half confession. This wasn't supposed to leak this way. That single sentence changes everything, because it implies there was a preferred version of events, a planned timeline, a controlled release, a narrative they intended to introduce slowly, gently, safely. And instead, something forced their hand, something made the palace move before it was ready. Catherine feels the cold realization settle in. If the palace is improvising, then something is already out of their control. And if something is out of their control, That means this isn't just about duties. It's about power, about who holds the center when the system shakes, about who gets seen, and who disappears behind language like temporary. And as the palace scrambles to hold the line, one question erupts behind closed doors: if this is temporary, why does it feel like a transfer? In this fictional expose, the schedule becomes the battlefield. Titles don't matter as much as who stands where, who is photographed with whom, and who is seen doing what. The moment William and Catherine take over duties, their faces become the monarchy's oxygen. But the palace doesn't simply assign them tasks. It rearranges them, placing them in the most symbolic engagements, the most visible ceremonies, the moments that quietly say, the future is already operating in the present. In this dramatized story world, the calendar isn't a list, it's a power map. The first shift happens fast enough to feel like a shove. High-profile duties are moved onto William and Catherine with urgency. Not gradually, not gently, but like the palace is trying to plug a hole before the public sees the water rising. The optics team calls it support. The corridors call it substitution. And the difference between those words isn't semantics, it's survival. Advisors argue in clipped voices over what the public will read into every appearance. Support looks like unity. Substitution looks like transition. And when the palace chooses which events go to William and Catherine, it chooses meaning. It places them in the most symbolic engagements, the most visible ceremonies, the moments that hold the monarchy's heartbeat so that the country doesn't feel absence, only continuity. But continuity has a shadow. Because the more the public sees them as the frontline, the more they begin to wonder why the frontline is needed at all. Catherine's public role expands faster than her private readiness, and that's where the emotional tension sharpens. She isn't only stepping into rooms, she's stepping into expectation. In this story world, she can feel the palace trying to use her calm as a sedative for the nation. Smile here, speak there, stand precisely where the camera angle looks most stable. But behind that choreography is a truth Catherine can't ignore. The schedule isn't just filling gaps, it's placing her in positions that create inevitability, as if the palace is quietly training the public to accept a new center of gravity. William senses the danger of appearing like he benefits from the crisis. He can feel it in the way some advisors look at him, calculating, cautious, almost suspicious. Because if he performs too well, it becomes proof he was ready. And if he looks ready, the story can twist into something darker, that the crisis is convenient. In this dramatized expose, he becomes trapped in a cruel paradox. He must be strong enough to stabilize the monarchy, but restrained enough not to look like he's advancing. Court factions interpret the schedule as a signal of succession-style positioning, and the palace knows it. That's why the internal arguments become vicious in their politeness. One camp insists visibility is necessary. Another camp insists too much visibility is dangerous. And then the most unsettling detail arrives. One event is labeled non-negotiable, and no one says why. No explanation, no debate, just a silent insistence that William and Catherine must be there, must be seen, must be photographed in a moment that carries symbolic weight the palace refuses to name. That's when Catherine feels the calendar stop being about duty and start being about design. And design means someone is shaping the crisis, not merely responding to it. But the real tension isn't in what they're doing, it's in what Camilla's absence makes possible. In this dramatized storyline, Camilla's camp doesn't disappear. It consolidates. Quiet calls go out. Gatekeepers tighten access. Information becomes rationed. Because a health update isn't just medical, it's leverage. And if William and Catherine are stepping forward, Camilla's allies fear being pushed back permanently. They don't ask how to help, they ask how to protect position. And the palace learns an ugly truth: compassion is optional, but control is not. Camilla's senior staff restrict details and manage messaging tightly, and their restraint isn't kindness. It's strategy. They seed one protective line into every conversation. This is precaution, not weakness. The phrase spreads through courtiers like a uniform, repeated with identical cadence, as if it was rehearsed. In this story world, the sameness is the giveaway. Real reassurance varies. Scripted reassurance repeats. And repetition is how the palace tries to overwrite panic with order. At the same time, Catherine is quietly painted as overstepping before she even speaks. Not loudly, not publicly internally first, where reputations are shaped before headlines ever catch up. The whispers are careful, concerned, almost kind. She's being pushed forward too fast. She's enjoying the attention. She's becoming the story. In this dramatized expose, those whispers are weaponized because they create a pre-defense. If Catherine later appears decisive, she can be framed as ambitious. If she appears cautious, she can be framed as weak. Either way, the narrative traps her. William is warned, softly but firmly, do not make this look like a takeover. And that warning reveals the palace's most fragile nerve. Because the palace understands what the public will see if William and Catherine become too visible, a monarchy operating without Camilla at its center. That is why gatekeepers tighten access. That is why information becomes rationed. That is why calls are made to journalists, allies, and friendly voices to steer interpretation before interpretation becomes uncontrollable. Charles becomes a pressure point between camps, pulled in opposite directions by loyalty, optics, and fear of fracture. In this story world, he's urged to project stability while the household quietly divides into competing instincts, one side protecting Camilla's standing, the other side accelerating William and Catherine's visibility for continuity. And then the cliffhanger lands like a sealed envelope on a table. A private memo suggests continuity planning is already activated. That phrase changes the temperature of the entire crisis. Because continuity planning doesn't sound like care. It sounds like contingency. It sounds like a machine prepared to keep moving no matter who falters. And once continuity planning is mentioned, Catherine realizes this crisis may have been rehearsed. In this story world, the most dangerous figure isn't the absent queen consort, it's the king trying to hold the palace together while it quietly chooses sides. Charles projects calm, but calm is a mask when the walls are closing in. Because if he leans on William and Catherine too hard, it signals diminished control. If he protects Camilla's authority too aggressively, it risks alienating the future. And the palace understands, a king can survive scandal. What he can't survive is a vacuum. Charles balances compassion optics with institutional survival in a way that feels less like leadership and more like triage. In this dramatized retelling, he keeps his voice measured, his posture controlled, his face carefully neutral, because the moment the king looks shaken, the palace will shake harder. He speaks in safe phrases that sound like comfort, but function like containment. He insists everything is managed, because managed is what the public needs to believe. But inside the building, managed is a lie the staff repeat so they don't panic. Advisors split around him like a crack widening in slow motion. One camp demands he protect Camilla's standing, not out of warmth, but out of fear. If her authority looks diminished, the monarchy looks unstable. The other camp argues to accelerate William and Catherine's visibility, because visibility is oxygen, and the public cannot be allowed to smell fear. And Charles is haunted by past mistakes with public narrative in this story world moments, when silence became scandal, when delay became confession, when carefully chosen words only fueled suspicion. He carries the memory of those past storms like a warning in his own bloodstream, and it makes him lean harder on control. Catherine becomes moral pressure without saying a word. Her presence is calm, but it doesn't feel passive. It feels like a reminder that the future monarchy is watching the present one and judging it. William, meanwhile, stops playing along with polite vagueness. He demands clarity in the most dangerous sentence an heir can speak. What exactly are we covering? Because that question doesn't only ask for facts, it accuses the palace of shaping them. And then the moment arrives that forces Charles to make a choice. In this dramatized scenario, he is shown a detail that makes the crisis feel less like misfortune and more like management, something procedural, something hidden, something that suggests the situation has been handled through versions and timing rather than transparency. The detail lands like ice. It doesn't need to be loud to be devastating. It tells Charles one brutal truth. If he stays soft, he loses control. If he stays vague, the palace will be ripped apart by rumor. So he hardens his stance not publicly, but inside the machine, where decisions become irreversible. And when Charles hardens, the palace doesn't relax, it panics, because hard decisions create enemies. In this dramatized expose, the public doesn't wait for facts. It builds theories, and the palace feeds them without meaning to through silence, omissions, and the sudden visibility of William and Catherine everywhere. A health update turns into a story of succession, rivalry, and hidden fractures. Loyalists frame William and Catherine as rescuers. Critics frame them as opportunists. And the palace realizes, once the narrative becomes moral, no statement can fix it. Media commentary turns temporary into permanent speculation at the speed of emotion. In this story world, people don't ask for nuance, they choose a side. They turn a schedule change into a plot. They turn a quiet bulletin into a confession. And as competing camps leak selective details to shape sympathy, the palace becomes both the stage and the target. One leak paints Camilla as brave and unfairly sidelined. Another leak paints William and Catherine as forced into duty because the institution is failing. Each leak claims to protect the monarchy. Each leak quietly stabs it. Catherine's every appearance is dissected for signals. A glance becomes a message. A dress colour becomes a statement. A simple phrase becomes a headline. William fears the public will blame them for doing their job, because in this story world, competence is suspicious when it appears during crisis. And the palace's PR messages contradict each other subtly, one spokesperson insisting normal operations, another hinting temporary adjustments, another saying family support. Each version slightly different, each difference feeding the idea that someone is lying. Then the cliffhanger arrives like a rumor with teeth. An insider suggests the update was delayed intentionally, not released when it should have been, released when it was useful. And that suggestion changes the moral temperature of the entire story. Because delayed truth feels like deception even when the truth is complicated. The public doesn't ask why it was delayed. They ask who benefited from the delay. They ask who needed time to prepare the optics, reshape the calendar, position the right faces in the right places. But the real danger isn't what the public thinks, it's what the palace is doing while the public is distracted. In this fictional storyline, William discovers that stepping in isn't as simple as showing up. There are conditions. Approvals. Quiet restrictions about what can be said, where they can go, who they can meet, and what they must never imply. It feels less like duty and more like a contract. And that's when William realizes the scariest possibility. The crisis isn't being managed for health, it's being managed for control of the future story. In this dramatized story world, the handover arrives with paperwork before it arrives with clarity. A confidential coverage protocol exists, and the very fact that it has a name makes William's stomach tighten. Because protocols aren't written for kindness, they're written for containment. The language is clean, sterile, almost comforting until you realize what it actually does. It turns human uncertainty into an approved script. It tells them which words are safe, which phrases are forbidden, and which topics must be treated like explosives. The palace isn't asking them to help, it's training them to speak. Certain engagements are off limits for reasons not explained, and that's where William feels the trap close. It isn't just rest, it's restriction. Entire rooms of influence are suddenly inaccessible, as if someone is quietly drawing borders around what William and Catherine are allowed to represent. William senses someone is using the crisis to shape him, not just as an heir, but as a message. Be present, but not too present. Lead, but not like you're leading. Be visible, but only in the places that serve the narrative. And the deeper he reads, the clearer it becomes. The palace isn't protecting health. It's protecting an image of power. A guardian figure emerges, someone who controls access to key information and speaks with the calm authority of a person who has been waiting for this moment. In this story world, the guardian doesn't threaten. They don't need to. They present guidance like law. They remind William that stability matters. They remind him that phrases can create misunderstanding. They remind him that compassion must be consistent. And every reminder carries the same quiet message: do not improvise. Do not feel too loudly. Do not accidentally reveal what the institution hasn't approved. Catherine struggles between compassion and performance, and that tension becomes unbearable because she can feel the palace using her humanity as a tool. In this dramatized retelling, she understands what they want her to be: a calming face, a gentle voice, a stabilizing presence. But she also understands what they fear: a leader with her own narrative. Because if Catherine speaks with too much truth, she shifts the balance. If she speaks with too much emotion, she becomes unpredictable. If she speaks with too much strength, she becomes political. And so the palace measures her like a risk, even while it parades her like an asset. Then William finds the line that turns protocol into a weapon. A clause activates if anyone contradicts the official narrative. The phrase is framed as protection against confusion, but in this story world, it reads like a muzzle. It implies consequences without naming them: access limited, support withdrawn, reputations quietly adjusted. William reads it twice, then a third time, because the meaning is too ugly to accept at first. The palace has built a system where truth isn't corrected. It's punished. And once William reads that clause, he understands the fight isn't about duties, it's about who owns the truth. In this dramatized retelling, Catherine becomes the palace's strongest asset, and that makes her the most vulnerable. Because she's expected to look calm while the institution trembles. She's expected to smile while rumors grow teeth. And she's expected to carry compassion without accidentally shifting power. The pressure isn't only public. It's internal, every gesture measured, every word policed. And at a certain point, Catherine realizes they don't want her to lead. They want her to stabilize. She feels used as emotional cover for institutional maneuvering, and that realization hurts more than any headline. In this story world, her private fear becomes almost unbearable. If I do this too well, they'll make it permanent. Because permanence doesn't always arrive as a declaration. Sometimes it arrives as habit. Sometimes it arrives as a new normal that settles around you while you're busy doing what you were asked to do. William tries to protect her, but he can't protect the narrative. He can't stop the palace from turning their duty into a storyline, and he can't stop outsiders from interpreting every moment as proof of something deeper. Camilla's camp quietly tests Catherine's loyalty through intermediaries, soft messages wrapped in politeness, checks disguised as concern, invitations that feel like traps. In this dramatized storyline, Catherine senses that every gesture is being evaluated. Is she respectful enough? Restrained enough? Compliant enough? And then a public moment nearly slips into truth before being corrected, one small human beat where Catherine's face almost reveals what she really thinks, where her words almost step outside the approved frame. The correction comes quickly, politely, efficiently. But Catherine feels the humiliation in her bones. Even her sincerity must be managed. Then the cliffhanger arrives, private and brutal. Catherine receives a message that doesn't pretend to be kind. It doesn't pretend to be supportive. It is the palace speaking its oldest language choice, framed as loyalty. Choose your side. And in that instant, Catherine understands the worst part of being the stabilizer. Stabilizers are only celebrated until they threaten to become leaders. And once Catherine is forced into a choice, the palace realizes it may have created the very fracture it feared. In this story world, The crisis doesn't just weaken Camilla's position, it forces her camp to act. A countermove emerges that isn't loud, but devastating. A shift in access, a reshuffle of staff, a quiet narrative that reframes the entire situation as William and Catherine supporting Camilla, not replacing her. The difference seems small. It isn't. It's the difference between temporary help and permanent takeover. And the palace fights for that wording like it's oxygen. In this dramatized retelling, Camilla's allies push the support narrative aggressively, not with shouting but with repetition. The same phrases appear in the right mouths at the right times. The same reassurance is delivered with the same careful rhythm. They're assisting. They're easing the burden. They're standing beside her. Because in palace warfare, the first side to define the story usually wins the story. And once support becomes the accepted framing, every appearance William and Catherine make stops looking like leadership and starts looking like obligation, an act performed on behalf of someone else. William's independence is subtly restricted through protocol, and the genius of it is how polite it looks. It isn't a ban. It's a process. It isn't an order. It's a reminder. He's told to route decisions through certain channels. He's advised to avoid certain topics. He's encouraged to wait for approvals that mysteriously take longer than they used to. In this story world, the restrictions don't need to be harsh to be effective. They only need to slow him down enough that the palace machine can steer him. Charles is pressured to publicly reaffirm Camilla's role, because reassurance is the palace's favourite weapon. A carefully chosen line from the king becomes a shield around Camilla's authority, warm enough to calm the public, sharp enough to warn anyone inside the system thinking of treating this as a permanent shift. Catherine's circle feels increasingly monitored, and it starts in the smallest ways. A staff member who used to be friendly suddenly becomes formal. A conversation pauses when Catherine enters a room. A message is misplaced. A briefing arrives missing one crucial detail. It's not paranoia. It's pattern. Then a new leak attempts to undermine William's credibility, and it doesn't attack him directly. It attacks his motive. It suggests he wants this. It suggests he's enjoying the visibility. It suggests he's pushing too fast. In this dramatized storyline, the leak is designed to do one thing: make William look like the beneficiary of Camilla's struggle. Because if William looks like the beneficiary, then Camilla looks like the victim. And if Camilla looks like the victim, her authority becomes morally protected. The palace tries to hold a clean public line, but the inside is chaos disguised as calm. Every camp believes it is defending the monarchy, and that's what makes the conflict so dangerous, because nobody thinks they're the villain. They think they're the protector. But protections come with tactics, and tactics come with casualties. Then the cliffhanger hits like a blade under velvet. The original health update is revealed to have two versions, not two interpretations. Two versions, one softer, one harder, one meant for the public, one meant for the inner circle. And in this story world, the existence of two versions doesn't just suggest miscommunication, it suggests manipulation. And once two versions exist, the palace's biggest fear becomes real. Someone is rewriting reality in real time. In the aftermath, nothing explodes on the surface, because palaces rarely explode. They rearrange. Access changes quietly. Smiles turn colder. And William and Catherine understand the brutal truth. Stepping in didn't just cover duties. It revealed the monarchy's nervous system, who controls what, who leaks what, and who panics when the future becomes visible. Because once the public has seen them as the frontline, the palace can't unshow it. It must adapt or fracture. The household hardens into factions, and trust fractures deepen in the quiet places where royal life actually lives. People stop speaking freely. They stop joking. They stop offering opinions unless they know who's listening. William's authority grows because he's visible, because he's necessary, because the public is watching, but the scrutiny grows with it. sharpening into suspicion that follows him like a shadow. Catherine's image becomes a contested symbol, savior to some, threat to others, depending on which storyline needs her as proof. And Camilla's camp regains ground through quiet channels, not by winning the spotlight, but by controlling the backstage. In this dramatized story world, the final tease arrives as a rumor that won't die. A second health update is coming more explosive than the first. Something that will force the palace to choose between compassion and control in public, not just behind closed doors. And the question the palace can't escape hangs over everything. Who benefits most if the crisis becomes permanent? Because if permanence arrives, it won't be announced. It will be absorbed into routine until everyone forgets it was ever temporary. And if you think this ends with a schedule shift, wait, because the next move won't be about duties. It'll be about who gets erased. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you in next one.